Hello, beautiful soul, and welcome to another episode of Intuitive Creator Spotlight. Today, I have an amazing guest, Terry Sobon. She is here with us to share her story and some incredibly exciting pieces of information because Terry works with the ultimate technology, I would say, for us, and that's AI, because this is a subject that all of us are talking about so much. But with Terry, not only that she has a fascinating background in tech that led her to working now a lot with AI, she also is a certified health and wellness coach. And I can't wait to welcome Terry here with us. Hi, Terry. How are you? How are
Hi,
things for
I'm
you?
good. Thank you for having me. Fabulous, Stella. Thank you. And I like that what you call that the ultimate technology. I
Oh,
love it.
yes.
I feel like that's what it is.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And we were having a conversation earlier talking that it is just becoming part of our life and it doesn't matter if we want to accept it or not. I think it's been here with us for quite a while. So, but I know, Terry, that your journey, especially with your tech path, right, started sometime in 90s when you had a conversation with a 12 years old person. I don't know, it was a boy or a girl,
He was
but
a
I know
boy.
that it was at 12 years old, and I know that this was a pivotal moment for you. Would you like to share more about that with us? Why that was such an important moment for you?
Yeah, I'd love to. So it literally did start that way. When we got our first computer, it was a Windows 3.1. And but that was not the one that I remember. It was we got Windows 95. And that was the time that it was 1994 that the internet started becoming a household thing and people were able to get online. And so I fired up that computer, got online back in the day when we had these dial-up modems and they were god awfully slow. And you either took up your entire landline to get online, or you had two phone lines so that you could have a free phone line and be able to get online. So we didn't have cell phones back then. So I knew as soon as I got online, and listen, my first experience with getting online, like a lot of people, was AOL. We called it America Online over here, but I think everywhere else in the world they called it AOL because it was simple and that was really all I knew. But it was in a one of their chat rooms on AOL where I think it was a chat room for learning how to create websites because I was fascinated. I'm like, how is this internet thing working? And I would visit websites. I'm like, how are they doing that? And I was in this chat room with this 12-year-old kid. Well, it was a lot of people, but we ended up having a private conversation because he was trying to show me how you actually create a hyperlink. And he kept trying to create the hyperlink and it would send it through the message and the the markup language would disappear and it would just be the hyperlink. And so he's like, I can't write it out in a way that you can see it. But anyway, it was from there that just like sparked something. I knew that that was how I was going to make my livelihood, was going to be online. And so it did. I went to work eventually for an internet service provider. Well, not eventually, it didn't take long. Like I just ran with it. And I do that when I want to learn something new. I go all in, both feet. And I went to work for what was an internet service provider, which we had back in the day. They're not like they were back then. Um, now people have a big, their big phone company, whatever, and that's how they get online. But back then they were these independent internet service providers, and we serviced people to get on the internet, but we also serviced big companies, corporations, and they got their, back then it was a T1 connection, right? They had ISDN connections. So I ended up going to work there and was self-taught. Everything I learned on the job. I had some great people that were helping me learn, but everything was for the most part self-taught. And the owner of the company at that time encouraged me. He's like, some of the people that would call in for some support wanted somebody to do their website, for instance. So he encouraged me to do that. And that developed into website development company. And I wanted to be good at graphics. So I went to school for graphic design as well. So it all went from there. So I went to work for another internet service provider who specialized more in corporate accounts. And so I was the web developer for them as well. And sometimes I do technical support kind of a thing. But anyway, yes, that conversation with that 12-year-old kid is really what started it all. And I feel like now here we are in this time of user-friendly AI coming on the scene, literally changing everything about the way that we do business, that it feels like 1994 to me. Like I can't help but compare the two, how revolutionary that time period felt compared to now. It feels like the same thing. We're on this big precipice of something different is coming. And I feel like people need to be ready for that because like you're going to get like just like the internet now, Stella, right? It's like
Yeah.
the internet now, it's a part of our lives, isn't it? It's a part of our business. We're used to it. It's going to be the same thing with AI, you know?
Hmm.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, I feel like I feel like I've come full circle with that from that 1994 when everything was hard about the internet back then to where we are now.
Yeah, you had to wait for hours and hours to
Oh my God.
for your computer to open up and all of those things. But
Yeah.
what a blessing, isn't it, that you had the chance to witness that time and now when everything is like amplifying, updating and it's just up leveling on so many levels.
Yeah.
That clearly, inspired you to keep going. And I know that entrepreneurship has been, a consistent theme in your life. So
Yes.
what would you say that is about your energy that makes you constantly want to learn and innovate and be, just creating and working with people to help them create as well? What do you feel it's about your energy that wants that?
That's a really good question. And I feel like I've always had that entrepreneurial spirit. Not everybody does, and I didn't realize that that was the case, because my husband is not. Like he's just happy going to work and doing his thing, but that just never um felt right to me. It felt like there would always be a ceiling on what I was able to earn. There would always be a ceiling on what I was able to do or contribute. Um Whereas as an entrepreneur, I call the shots. I get to decide how much I'm going to earn. I get to decide how I'm going to produce or what I'm going to produce or how I'm going to produce it, who I get to work with. You know what I mean? So like if you're working in an office, it's like you got the people that you got to work with. You may not like them. You know, so it just always was it was just always there in me and I didn't realize that not everybody shares that same quality. And my most favorite thing I feel like was when I was first starting in the internet world was when I was doing technical support. I loved like listen, if you didn't have AOL, getting on the internet was hard. Okay, so that's what we did as an internet service provider, and it, when I would help people figure out how to get online, and sometimes we had to fix things on their computers so that they could get online. And I had to do this over the phone back before the days of video calls. We didn't have that then. And I would have to like walk them through, hold their hand and get them through the hard spots to get online. And nothing brought me more satisfaction than to hear in their voice how excited they were that they did it. And so that's always been a thing for me. Even back when I was a hairstylist and I would teach other hairstylists how to do things, the look in their eyes when they were able to figure something out. It's the empowering people and seeing that look in their eyes and just feeling that whole vibe for them shift when they realize that they can do this thing. So I don't know. That was a long way to answer that question, but I kind of feel like I don't know. I just feel like it's an inherent thing, you know? And I didn't realize
Yeah.
that not everybody's like that. So
And a lot of the times when you are expressing this information, it's it's so much more than just the words that you say, because I could just feel your excitement when you're talking about how happy those people were that you were sharing your knowledge with them. And it's clear from what you're sharing as well that you don't use a very like standard type of teaching
no.
because you're so innovative. And it's clear from also what you're sharing that everything you were doing to teach them was in a way that they would feel like, oh, it landed for me right now, and I feel so at ease and so at peace. So Terry, I know that you have, as an early adopter of technology, you've navigated through, various shifts in this industry. How do you always stay focused and with like one step in the future, always with to maintain that forward thinking? Because I think that's a very important aspect of the world in general, but especially in entrepreneurship.
Yeah, it's really important to people like myself, people like yourself, people who are just entrepreneurs in general. It's easy for us, especially if we're creative, to get sidetracked with shiny object syndrome. And I've heard people try to tell me that that's what I do. Um, but that I feel like that's not the case, right? So I feel like it's more like if something is fascinating to me, I'm going to go down that rabbit hole and I'm going to get everything out of it that I possibly can, and extract all the goodness out of it in a way that makes sense for me. And then if I'm done with it, I'm done with it. I've gotten everything that I can out of it. But I don't start things and then stop. I feel like I need to get to the end of something. Like starting something new is fun. Getting to the end of it is also just as rewarding to me, because I feel like without that completion, I feel like something's off, right? And so to stay innovative, I feel like you have to be able to keep track of what's actually going on without going into shiny object syndrome. So I feel like that kind of requires a sense of being willing to finish something. So I know that for some entrepreneurs, not finishing is a big thing, like or delaying, waiting for listen, I hear this one a lot. This is something that I heard a lot when I was in my health and wellness era of coaching, is that I'm waiting for a sign for the universe. No, your sign is that you are the sign. So I'm very passionate about that. I'm like, nudges from the universe are fine. And I do believe that that is the thing. Listen, I'm like you, Stella, I'm very intuitive and I do pay attention to those nudges. I get downloads of information, and I feel like a lot of times that's where this information comes to me. So I feel like in order to stay, you know, innovative and on top of what's going on, it requires curiosity,
Mm.
not shiny object syndrome, right? So like I said, if you're gonna if you're gonna go down a rabbit hole of something, make sure it's something that's not going to take up a whole lot of your time, um, and that you're not going to finish. I don't
Mhm.
know, for lack of a better way to put it, that's kind of how, you know what I mean? It's like, make sure that it's important, it's going to serve you in some way or help you serve your people in some way, and that it's
Mhm.
something that you can get to the end to, a willingness to explore the world, um, willing to be a pioneer, willing to do things that you're going to get crap for. I started to cuss. I don't know if it's okay to cuss on here, but um, things that you're going to get crap. Like, listen, when I started this whole, when AI came on the scene, um, there was this willingness to dive deep into because I kind of can see the future, and I feel like that's an intuitive thing as well. You can just kind of sense that this is coming, just like I sensed the internet was going to be a big thing.
Mhm.
Right, and it has become. So have many other innovations since then.
Mhm.
This is again something that I see is gonna it's gonna impact our lives whether we're ready or not.
Oh yeah,
It's
absolutely. And
it's already impacting our lives.
it does very much, and I think it has been part of our lives for quite some time. So
Yeah.
it's clear that you're just opening up to what's out there, and I
Mhm.
absolutely love that you said there is a difference between like running after the shiny object and staying curious with the intention to go through the process, and how important that is. So would you say what's the most important, do you think? The start, the finish, the journey, or everything?
Everything. Like there are a lot of people that do actually want to pick those things apart. Like, I'm a starter or I'm a finisher, or
Yeah,
it's all about the journey and not the destination. Nope.
yeah.
For me, it's the entire thing. I love the idea of starting something new. That excites me. I love, you know what? Let me back that up a second. The journey for me is not as fun. I like to get to the end. I love to start something and I love to get to the end. And a really good example of that is when this was brought to my attention that the journey for me, everybody's like, the journey is the most important thing, not, not the destination. And I get that. But for me, it's not. And where I realized this was I was training for a half marathon. It was my very first one. And I had to make a trip to from St. Louis, Missouri to San Diego, California to run this race. And so I did all this training for half a year to build up to this race. And it was an awful race. I hated it, like every minute of it, because it was hilly. If you've ever been to San Diego, you know what I'm talking about. It was in La Jolla, California, hilly as all get out. And I was not prepared for that. But all I could think of as I was planning this trip was that I just wanted to get to the finish line. I didn't care about getting on the plane. I didn't care about flying out there. I didn't care about everything that I booked after that. So I booked us a trip to Cabo to Mexico on that coast while we were there. And then we booked a trip to Disneyland while we were there. And so we were going to do all that after the race. I didn't care about that. I just wanted to get to the finish line so that I could then carry on and say I did it. And so I
Mhm,
realized that that's how I actually operate, is
mhm.
that the journey it's just a process to get to the destination for
That's
me.
so incredible and so beautiful that we are all so different. And as you're
Yeah.
talking, it makes so much sense that you included the help of AI in all of your journeys now, because what AI does, it just helps you get to the destination faster, I guess. Yes. So,
Maybe that's a good way to put it, is like
yeah.
that. Maybe that's why I'm so fascinated with it,
Yeah.
because it just helps me get the things done that I want to get done.
Yeah, and that's really interesting because, through the work that we do, through the skills and the gifts that we have, we also get to understand so much about ourselves as well. So let me ask you this. If you were to remember one moment when AI helped you in any kind of way, and that was like the most amazing thing that AI helped you with, what would that moment be? Something that just comes to you as a
You
memory
know, oh
now.
my, I could say practically everything that I do
Yeah.
now. So two things definitely stand out. One is like how I discovered AI was I'm a fine artist as well. And back in the day, I used to have to scour the internet or take my own photos, which there's nothing wrong with taking photos to use as a reference to paint. But or what is a common practice amongst artists is grabbing images and then putting them all together in something like, I don't use Procreate, but I know a lot of artists do because I'm not a Mac user, but or an Apple user, but or Photoshop, like pasting things together and creating something unique that you can use as a reference to paint from. So to me, that was very time consuming to do. To bring the idea that I had in my mind to life was really a challenge. And it was time consuming. And I don't know if you can tell, Stella, or whoever's watching, that I'm high energy and I want to get things done and I want to get it done now. So when Midjourney came on the scene, I was able to create, I just kind of tinkered around with it when I first found it and didn't really do a whole lot with it. But it just dawned on me one day. I'm like, I can use this to create things to paint. I can create my own art references. Now I know everybody's got their opinions on how they feel about AI art, but for me, this was a revolutionary step in enabling me to create what was in my mind faster and easier. I didn't have to go pasting things together or go outside and take a beautiful listen. I still do love to take pictures. I'm not against photography and using that as a reference, but um I could just create something that I had an idea in my mind and boom, there it is, and I can paint it. And it's an original reference. It's not something that I took from another artist and put it into this collage so that it doesn't even represent the artist's work at all, because that's the only ethical thing to do. You know what I mean? So that was the first. The second one was just a couple of days ago. I had to create a sales page for one of my offers, and I didn't have a proper sales page just because I wanted to get the offer out there, and it used to take me a lot longer. And so I created a sales page in less than 90 minutes because I count my distractions. It took me took me about 90 minutes with distractions. I created it with the help of ChatGPT, Midjourney, and Canva, and my own WordPress site, and I put it all together in less than 90 minutes. So I'm like, why would you not do this?
Yeah, it's fascinating. And especially
Yeah.
when you embrace these things and you use them in your own way, in your own style, that's not overwhelming, that's not pushy or whatever. You don't have to do what someone else is telling you to do or whatever. So, just for everyone who's watching us, because I know we have a lot of intuitive creators, hence the show, intuitive creators who are watching us, meaning intuitive coaches, readers, healers, artists who are watching us. And if there is anyone who maybe hasn't embraced or doesn't know much about AI at the moment, if you were to explain what AI is, what would you say? How would you explain that for someone who's not really like aware or doesn't really know much about it just yet?
I would have to say, like, think of it like your partner who doesn't need to eat, doesn't need to sleep, doesn't need to take a vacation, doesn't need to do anything, doesn't complain, doesn't balk at the hours that you need to work. Maybe you need to work at midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning, because that's the only time you get. Maybe you can only squeeze in an hour and a half of time in your day to work on your business. Well, that's what AI will help you do, because if you're like me and you have a bazillion ideas all at once, all the time, then you can just use AI to get those ideas out of here and into the world. So, that's probably how I would explain it. It's user friendly, like it's not complicated. It's not as complicated as things used to be. Like getting on the internet used to be complicated. It was a complicated process. AI, with our user friendly interface, the way it's been put into the world now, there's really no reason not to take advantage of it. If you're trying to build or grow a business, then it definitely look. Two things I say: ChatGPT and Midjourney. You really don't need to overcomplicate any of it. Those two things will get you whatever results that you want. It doesn't even have to be Midjourney. It can be any AI art generator that you prefer, but at least ChatGPT or one of the large language models. Keep it simple.
I
Seriously,
love it.
I'm
I
all
love
about
it.
simplicity.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
you know.
And I love that you gave us this example from your own experience of like putting together a landing page, a sales page, using your website and a few other AI options. So this can be an example, right, to create a sales page. What other situations can AI help us with? Just for people to understand, okay, I can create the sales page. What else can they create with AI?
Well, listen, I just did a class not that long ago about how to use it to analyze your audience data. Okay, so that you can take a really good example of this, and this is what we did in this class. Put a survey out to your audience, put it into groups, whatever groups you're take part in. Put it out to your general audience, put it out to your email list. A simple survey asking the right questions, and then you put that information, their responses, into ChatGPT, and you have it analyze the data. And you can have ChatGPT tell you what are their concerns when it comes to whatever your niche is. What do I need to understand about what they're saying? How can I handle any objections that they might be having, or and have ChatGPT pull all this information from that survey for you. So that's a very simple use of being able to use AI for something other than creating, sales pages and whatnot. So you can use it to analyze your audience data so that you can speak exactly the language that they're speaking, address the exact concerns that they have. And like when people talk about getting into someone's head, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about, and people don't like that term, but it's really true. If you're going to connect with your audience, you need to speak the language that they're saying in their head or out loud, right? So
Mhm.
you need to be able to speak that same language, and you can do that with um, a little analysis help with AI. Back in the day when I first started in the coaching space online, we had to do that with the help of like Google Forms or not even Google Forms we didn't use back then. I think it was like SurveyMonkey and whatever other forms. Maybe Google Forms was around then, but and then we had to go through line by line and try to see if we could figure out what are the repeating patterns here? What is a common theme? Now you can just plug that right into ChatGPT and it does the work for you.
It is incredible, isn't
Again,
it?
why would you not do that?
Yes, yes, it's incredibly fascinating.
Yeah.
And especially when we learn how to work with it, that's when a lot of amazing results will come through because of that. So because I know you work with a lot of beautiful creators, Terry, and they come to you for help so that they can understand how they can simplify, right, their processes. What would you say it's usually? What would you say is happening in their lives or businesses when they come to you and they reach out to you and say, "Hey, Terry, I just need to work with you"?
There are two common scenarios that I can say that when people reach out into my DMs or send me an email or what have you, or contact me on the socials, it's because either A, they realize that they need to start using AI. And so they're like, they ask me a specific question about how to use ChatGPT to accomplish this task or goal. So it's usually that, or it's how can I use AI to create this like an art thing that they want, like a graphic for their website, or maybe they want to print a poster. I had a chiropractor reach out to me and she's like, I want to make a poster for my office and I needed to do, and I'm like, well, AI is not quite that good at that yet, but it's usually something related to AI art because they're working on their brand, um, or or it's something specific to how to use ChatGPT to accomplish a specific task.
Wow. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for this, Terry. So as we're finishing and getting to the end of this episode, is there anything that you wanted to share with those who are watching us? It can be about anything really, something that you feel people just need to hear right here, right now. What would your message be?
It would be, don't be afraid, excuse me, to try something new. It's going to require probably stepping out of your comfort zone. But listen, I'm really big on stepping out of your comfort zone. I'm pretty comfortable being uncomfortable because I feel like the biggest concerns when it comes to using AI based on, again, analysis is that people are concerned about authenticity with AI, and they're concerned about the ethics, and they're concerned about copyright issues, and they're concerned that they're overwhelmed, right? So that's why my biggest thing is keep it simple. Two things is all you need. You need a large language model like ChatGPT, and you need an AI art generator. Doesn't matter which one. I just prefer Midjourney. So don't be afraid to innovate in some way. So things are changing and so Stella, we had this conversation before too. Things are changing in the online space. You can't keep doing the same thing that you've been doing in the past. It's not going to work moving forward. And I think that it has to do with the speed that everything's happening now. People want things quickly. They want it now. They want to be able to binge watch. They want, you know what I mean? So don't be afraid to be innovative and do whatever you need to do to deliver something innovative to your audience, to your people. So just be willing to step out of your comfort zone. Don't be afraid to embrace AI. It literally does make everything easier.
Because then you can go and ask ChatGPT, hey, give me some ideas for events that I can run. And then you have
Yes,
so many ideas that are coming to you. It's not like ChatGPT is doing that for you. It's just giving you ideas, but then it's your energy that goes through those ideas
exactly.
at the end of
Listen,
the day.
that's how a lot of people start with AI is they tap into ChatGPT and they use it for a springboard for ideas. That is great. Like that's a great place to start. And listen, that's what I'm talking about, getting them out of here and putting them into ChatGPT, because then ChatGPT is going to give you ideas that you didn't even think of, you know?
Yeah.
That's where the innovation comes through. I feel like it's expansive. Like we're expanding, we're not getting listen, I hear a lot of people say this too. It's like we're getting dumber and we're getting stupider because of AI. And like, no, we're expanding.
Yes.
Change your perspective on it and see what happens for you.
Absolutely. It's all
Yeah.
about perspective. So many times when you
Yep.
just shift the perspective, a lot of things also shift in our life as well.
Hmm.
Thank you so, so much, Terry, for being here with us today. I'm really grateful for your presence. And thank you, everyone who's watching us. If you enjoyed this episode, please check out the description of this video, find out how you can connect with Terry. Also, like this video, subscribe to this channel, and stay tuned because there will be more and more amazing videos on this channel as well. And I can't wait to see you all again. Thank you. Have an amazing day, week, wherever you are in the world. Bye-bye.